week 10. So this would be day 19. Intro to programming. First thing we're going to do a Unreal Engine Blender Tech Den, and I will set the date, and so this will start at 9 a.m. and then this will start at 11 a.m. So we're going to do that on a Tuesday or Thursday, before Thanksgiving, I hope, but I'll get that planned and taken care of. Okay, Python and lists. So we already talked about arrays. And now we're going to look at lists in Python. I talked briefly about modularization. Students finished up the midterm final work, and that was, we added lists to that, so that ended up being assignment 8 and that second part of the midterm. We reviewed a couple things. I talked about data structures. The key ones we use in this class at this point: float, numbers with decimal places, integers, they're like whole numbers up with the negatives, right, 0. And then strings of information, they call them strings, but that would be anything that's not a number. If it's not numeric, then it's just characters, a string of characters. Okay. So in data structures, we have this idea of a variable, which is really a memory location, so we can store something into a name, which is really just keeping track of it in memory. Added to our data structures is this idea of arrays. All of these data structures right here can be stored in an array. You can have an array with floats, you can have an array with integers, you can have an array with strings. So what does that look like? I drew an array over here. We did a little review. We named it age, and then we're going to do an example of age. So age sub 0 would be the first position, age sub 1 would be the second position, age sub 4 would be the third position. Alright. We also talked about control structures, sequence, conditional, iteration. A lot of times we talk about controlling flow, how we control the flow of the program. One thing after another, we can make that decision this way or this way, or we can iterate something with a loop. We also have case structure. In a lot of programming languages, in Python, we simulate a case structure by doing an if, then, else, and else if, so forth. Another key area, operators. Okay? How do you add? How do you subtract? And how do you raise to a power, and so forth? All programming languages, then we have operators, and we have logical operators, the and ors, which we covered previously. So these are kind of key areas in programming. How you structure the data, how you control the flow, and what kind of operations can you do on the data. Okay, so talk about building arrays. The first thing we do is you would declare an array. So for example, we're going to do this array called age. Okay, so you can declare age. We can declare age, or in our case we're going to use something like age list equals, you can declare the array. Okay, you can create it, just saying, with nothing in it. And then we can add items to the array by appending it. So we can put an item here. If we append, it's just going to put it here. We append, we can put it here. Append, and put it here. There's ways to insert in there. You can replace this value with a different value of an insert and so forth. We can, by referencing it, right, like age, sub, whatever, and then just putting a new value there. We talked about you can also, should mention this, you can also give this a dimension. You can give it a size. You can say my array will never be bigger than this, which then allows the operating system to better manage memory location of the array, because it knows it's never going to be bigger than how you dimension it. And we can have, here we have one-dimensional arrays. You can have two-dimensional arrays, three-dimensional arrays, okay, to represent values. So, we're going to gather a list of ages. We're going to put them into a list in Python, and then we can figure out the oldest, the youngest, and we can sort that list once it's in Python. We can, this code comes from a library, Python library. These are functions that are already designed. Code's already there in Python. So, let's define here what we're going to do. We're going to define the list. We're going to input the age. If the age is greater than 0, we're going to append the list, input another age, and then when this loop is done, we'll print out the list. So, we have the code for that. It's called, let me check, age version 2 py, age version 2 py, and that's in the directory class 2000, so that's in this directory, class 2018 GRP, that generic group class that everybody belongs to. So you can take a look and run it, see how it works. Last thing I need to go over here, functions. You can design a function which is a block of code, and then inside a program you can call these modules. You can have some information here, and you can send data to this block of code, and then it can send the result back. And that's our next major thing to discuss, is functions and how we can modularize our programming, which, like most everything we talk about in class, is going to be really important. That's it for today.